Hello everybody indeed, welcome to the Metanorn mini talk for Gargantia on the Virtuous Planet, episode 6, Festival. I'm Jrow, joined by Foshizzle.
Hey, what's up everyone?
And it is just the two of us this week. It was going to be a big party, it was going to be a big festival, but unlike people in Gargantia, they did not show up.
Yep.
And there might be some reason they didn't show up. We'll talk about that as we talk about the episode. It starts off with what triggers the festival, which is a swirling galaxy. This is when two sea currents intersect, as it mentions in the episode, and you see it forms a ring, and fish are much easier to catch. So, Gargantia, life on Earth is pretty easy. Definitely much more so than fighting the Hideals.
Yeah, definitely showed interesting things with the water. Because I was wondering about that for a while. Like, what's the sea life like in this world? But we'll talk about that later. But with the fish thing, it was kind of interesting seeing that. I guess this a natural event. This happens to come nearby, like a festival thing, so they can catch these fish. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's like almost like some office that finds any excuse to party or relax. Like last week, it was the wind stopped, so and this week it's now catching fish and just any reason to party.
Yeah.
So with the fishing thing, Red is trying to find his own thing to do. He doesn't necessarily want Chamber to help. He wants to find something that he can do on his own. So he gives fishing a try and rides in another Unboro, but because it's not Chamber, it doesn't really work out so well, and it kind of looks embarrassing for him as he can't swim in the water with it.
Yeah, he's just like giving orders to the machine. It's not responding. He's just like, why doesn't it respond to my voice? Like this. Not knowing it's like, it's pretty much you have to do it all yourself. It's pretty much not automatic, it's manual for the most part. Yeah,
I was just going to mention the word manual because Red said something, and the engineer guy goes, we don't have that, so, tough luck.
Good luck with that.
And then Chamber, he tries to fish on his own, and basically minces every single fish that he catches, basically uses his gravity to create a big, a water sphere to catch all the fish, but no dice on good fish.
It makes you wonder, it's like, this world's supposed to be like not very populated with humans, and I guess the animals just have, I don't know, when I get called those fish and you kill them all, I'm like, how much fish are in the water, in this current time? But it was kind of funny watching them screw that up.
Yeah, a lot of sea life on the show. And then we see that Red works with Chamber together, and also some of the other people that are using Unboros to actually make a big catch. So teamwork is the theme of that little scene there. Not really.
Oh, right, yeah. It definitely shows that if he works with these people, he can accomplish his goals, the goals of people, but solo or by themselves, they almost need, I almost think they need to watch the other people do it first before jumping into these things. It's almost like with the moving the boxes, like, he couldn't watch the other guys before doing it. Just observe for like a day and then next day do it yourself. But yeah, I guess that's what he's supposed to be learning.
Yeah, and as we're talking about some of the things that went on in this episode, it's really hard to draw some overall conclusions from the episode because it's kind of stuff we've seen and it doesn't really feel that important. It's kind of just like Red is adapting to this new culture and something we've kind of seen before.
Yeah, we've seen it, like you said, the last, I think, 3 or 4 episodes have been kind of the same. It's Red trying to figure out his place in this little Gargantia, and he wants to find a job, purpose, and all this stuff like that.
Yeah. And for some more fan service, as if swimsuits wasn't enough last week, we have the festival with the 3 younger girls on the Gargantia, basically dressing up in outfits and doing some dancing.
Yeah, some belly dancing stuff,
Yeah.
which to me felt kind of weird because in the scene they show that he's hanging out with people, Red's hanging out with some other people, getting some food, and you have the three girls dancing, and you have a lot of like very obviously older gentlemen kind of like watching
Yeah.
these three young girls dance. They're like, I'm like, you guys,
Hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, like, but maybe they just don't really, care about that kind of stuff
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
in this world. It's not new.
Yeah. And the animation quality in that scene, it was very mixed. Like when it was far away, the character designs weren't that great. But once they got into like zooming in on the belly or the butt or whatever, of course that was very detailed.
Right,
Um,
it was.
Almro from Animavision had a great tweet. Uh, I'll have to link it in a post where it says about to watch Gargantia 6, and it shows a picture of a guy with his pants on, and then the side picture, pants are coming off.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Who knew Gargantia would be so fan servicey from
Hmm.
the previews and such? So, Pinion goes along with Red for a dinner and orders a nice meal, and then Bellows comes over and tries to recruit Red to their group. She, of course, salvages, and he does some fishing. And they bring out a dinner, which is a big octopus, and Red just freaks out on it, thinking it's a Hideaus, and pulls out his gun, and they're like, this is food, and it's delicious, and here
Yeah,
I'm eating
yeah,
it.
yeah. They're like, dude, calm down. But for me, seeing these two it's kind of weird. In the beginning, at least we didn't see. Pinion didn't like Red in the beginning. Bellows
Hmm.
didn't think much of him either. And now suddenly they're coming around to like, oh, well, we
Yeah.
want to join our little
Hmm.
our little thing here. It's like, what are they up to? But I guess maybe because they see the potential in Red with his, robot.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where I think they're not really trying to be friends with him. They just want to use him
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
of what he has. So it's
Yeah.
almost it seems like they're trying to use him for their own gain, but
Yeah,
who
I would
knows?
agree. Like the relationship that they have is
Yeah,
very different from what Amy has with him, where
yeah.
you see that Amy really does have take an interest in him.
Because like
And
Pinion didn't like him, and now he's just like,
yeah,
oh, you're cool now,
hey buddy, man, come on,
right?
seaweed bread, come on, you gotta eat something real good.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's a scene afterwards where Amy and Red are watching a galaxy current, and she does a dance for him. There's a brief moment there where the lightning strikes, which I think we remember from the last time we saw a galaxy current in episode
Hmm.
2, where he thinks, there's some enemy, and at the time the threat was minimal.
Yeah, and when that scene happened, I've remember seeing Twitter people saying a bunch of people were saying that that's technically a death flag for either Amy or I don't know if they killed Red off, but
Hmm.
it's a death flag for one of them because I was talking to my brother about this, and it's like Red's getting so used to this, lazy life where he doesn't really have to rely on his weapons as much.
Hmm.
So it's like almost to the point where he might be getting like laxed in his military side of him.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I could see a scene where, he's kind of just, laying out, or just kind of relaxing, and something bad happens, he won't have the reaction time to
Hmm.
respond quick enough to save someone, but who knows?
And with Highway in the last podcast, there were some differing opinions on whether Urobuchi Gen would actually go through with killing a character, and there's still some uncertainty left. But you see these episodes where Red is adapting to the culture and becoming more friendly with these other people and building these friendships, that there could be some moments later in the series where those friendships are ended by death, and rage could overcome some people,
Oh, right,
or
definitely. I mean,
sadness or whatever.
they could definitely do the shonen type, the typical thing
Yeah.
where something dramatic happens, which pushes the
Hmm.
character to do something, to fight back or change or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily predicting that'll happen, but
Oh yeah, I'm
if
not
it
either.
does, it'll be really interesting to see how a character like Red reacts. A character who's so, as we've mentioned often on this podcast, so ingrained in military life, as opposed to a lot of other characters that have piloted mechs and shows where they're young and they're inexperienced, and death just causes them to just lose it and just go nuts on enemies and do as much harm
Yeah,
to
that's
themselves
true.
as the enemies that they're fighting.
And I remember when they played the flute and he remembered this past, like I almost
Hmm.
wonder if how he deals with trauma. It seems like he just blocks it out of his mind, doesn't think about it.
Hmm.
But for all we know, they could have wiped his memory.
Yeah, and also a moment about him playing the flute was that Grace, that whatever animal thing, had a very negative reaction to it.
Oh, all right, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So the last scene of the episode that we see is that he's basically chosen to work with Bellows. And
Good
what guy?
choice.
Yeah, yeah. What guy wouldn't want to work with Bellows? So while salvaging underwater, they see a Hideals appears, and Chamber basically mentions that there's 99.7% compatibility or something. I'm having trouble remember the exact subtitle, and the episode concludes with Chamber and the Hideals charging at each other while underwater.
Yeah, that makes me wonder if maybe it's not exactly a Hideal, whatever. It's maybe
Yeah.
they could even word it as maybe an ancestor or a type of
Mm-hmm.
Hideals that
Yeah.
doesn't really rely in space, but it's an underwater version, or it could be a different form of those kind of creatures.
Yeah. It's probably not. It could be not something to be feared,
Hmm.
but it could be sort of the precursor for things to come going forward. Like, I wouldn't expect this to be like a major fight next episode. I would
Right.
expect things to be done even before the opening, or unless they recap the ending as the opening and then they go into the new stuff into episode 7 after the opening. But
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if it's the creature that Bellows mentioned before they showed the squid that they were going to eat octopus. Because you
mm-hmm.
said something about you think that's scary. Wait till you see I think she worded like squid something or whale
Oh yeah.
squid or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Which almost makes you wonder maybe that's what that creature is that he's fighting.
Mm-hmm.
To him, kind of his reaction to the octopus, I could see the same thing happen with Chamber. Maybe they both react differently. It's not technically a Hideout at all. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a local creature they have, and yeah, but with the sh salvaging thing, I could see. I'm kind of picturing where he's gonna probably find parts for that spaceship
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, and the salvaging is an obvious choice in terms of story, because with salvaging, you're able to discover new things underwater and discover maybe a little bit more about the Earth, a little bit more about the people that left the Earth, like the people that are fighting in the Galactic Alliance for Humankind. So, as maybe as he does a little bit more of that, there will be more things to discover about the overall history of the series.
Yeah, it makes me think of a little bit of Robin from One Piece. How with
Mm-hmm.
that character, she's an archaeologist, but she's discovering all these stuff in the past, which is important. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that, like you said, maybe Bellows and then find something that he can relate back to his time. Like, oh well, I know where this is from,
Mm-hmm.
and they might
Yeah,
even hint towards that the plant might be overrun with Helials somewhere
that
on
could
a
be.
different side
Yeah,
of the world or whatever.
yeah, and obviously he could talk with Doctor Oldham some more, and maybe put together some pieces about space and Earth and such.
Yeah, then you got Amy's little brother. He could probably help out too with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
definitely have. I see where the story would be going now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just a salvaging thing.
Yeah. So overall, another episode without some real action. I mean, the most that we got was a pretty cool dive by Chamber underwater,
Hmm.
and a little scene there at the end with the threat of the Hyalials, but not much action again. I'm ready for stuff to progress forward with the overall story. I thought, as nice as it is to see Amy and the girls, shaking their hips and stuff, you kind of want to see some real progression in the story instead of, too much world building.
Right, and I think that's what it might be scaring people away from this series right now. I
Hmm.
mean, like I said, episode 5 was a beach episode. This is kind of a fan service episode.
Yeah.
And like you said, not almost want to say like robotic notes. There's a lot of stuff going on, but the progression is not really there right now.
Hmm.
Except for the very end, which kind of hints towards, oh, Now we're getting serious. So
Yeah. All right. So, thank you for listening to the mini talk on Gargantia. For Fosh, I'm Jrow. We'll see you next week.
see ya.
君の瞳にこの世界は